In addition to learning from our teachers who learn from their teachers, it's now possible for us to go back directly and consult documents and find instruments that actually were contemporary with the music that we're playing. The nearest thing would be to be having a lesson with Carl Philipp himself, and that's not going to be possible until we have time travel. Pianists today are called on to play an enormous repertory. They play music at least from Bach right up to the music of the present day. And this is music whose style is just tremendously different. One of the things that allowed those styles to develop so differently is that the composers were working with instruments that were themselves very different. So for instance, Mozart's piano or Schumann's piano or Debussy's piano or Chopin's piano, these were all very different. And I think that the modern players are at a disadvantage trying to do justice to this great range of music while using the same tool all the time. Of course, it's very impractical to try to give concerts on the most appropriate instrument every time. But in the educational context, I think more valuable than that is to take students who will, of course, play their Chopin or their Mozart or their Brahms on a modern Steinway and give them the experience of what these other instruments sounded like and how they respond under your fingers. Fortepiano is the name that we give today to a historical piano. It's a confusing name because in fact at the time these instruments were called fortepiano or pianoforte, which means loud soft or soft loud. The idea is that it was a kind of a harpsichord, looks like a harpsichord, but had this very important distinction that you could play soft or loud depending on how you touch the keys. The piano that most people play, that we have 150 of in the Conservatory, the Steinway or ones that are similar to the Steinway, this is basically a design that's a little over 100 years old. It dates from the end of the 19th century. And instruments that function like a piano, that have a hammer that strikes the strings, have been around since the beginning of the 18th century. They didn't become popular until towards the end of the 18th century, during Mozart's lifetime. Oberlin is really notable for having paid attention to this field earlier than virtually any school in the United States. It started with a summer program that's been going now for almost 40 years. That summer institute attracted virtually anybody who is now involved in historical performance in the United States. They've all spent at least a summer here. Of course it's stressed, it's a syncopation and everything, but if that gets everything, then I don't get C.P.E, all those other notes. Music students the world over are still eager to play old music. It's really quite astonishing to think that this music, which is hundreds of years old, is still so compelling to so many young people. But it's surprising to me how many people, no matter how committed they are to this music, how little they know about what that music was like when it was new. And so that when I'm talking to someone about Mozart and Mozart's piano, of course they know lots of Mozart's music, but many of them have no idea that the instrument on which they're accustomed to playing it didn't exist for 100 years after Mozart died. What is the difference between Mozart's piano style and Beethoven's piano style, and how does the instrument that these people knew, how does that play into it? What else can we learn? There's a surprising amount of contemporary descriptions of the playing of these people, and we can read it. We have a tremendous library. The possibility to learn about all of this is right at our fingertips.